I'm spending 100 days on this chunk, but it isn't a normal chunk. I can actually make and add new chunks to my world. If they load in. Oh, there we go. This is a world forge, and if I add enough raw materials from the chunk to it, I can get a world core. This can be made into all different types of chunks. Desert, swamp, mushroom islands, you name it, we can make it. My goals for this video are to automate the chunk making process. Not sure how I'm gonna do that. Restore the chunk-ridden world that we're given back into the overworld we're used to. Sure hope I figure out that first goal for that to work. Anyway, and finally, make sure that I am not alone on this mission. Yeah, that's right, I can't stop making them. What even is this hole? Whatever, it doesn't matter, because it all starts at the beginning, day 1. This world gives me a brand new beginning. Of course, I spawn in a village. The one place on Earth I have to turn down my friendly creature noises so I don't get to death. Life is crazy. Speaking of crazy, I was crazy once. They made me play Minecraft with a wooden pickaxe. And this time, I actually used the thing. I wanted to explore the chunk further than just the normal 8 stone blocks for tools. On this strategic staircase down, I found a small water bucket. Inconvenient much? This made my previous statement seem like a lie, cause yeah, it was stone tool time. But I did intend to go deeper. I'm not just a fish. Can you be a male fish hybrid? Is that a thing, like a merman's? Saplings, that's a good topic. Those are a must in this world, and since I watched a video one time saying that breaking the leaves and letting them deteriorate have the same drop chance, my impatience won out. With that down, it's back to exploring. I can't do much else here except crack crap jokes and mine for ores. I ended up using that water stream to scout. Turns out we have a mine shaft that does pretty much nothing for me. I picked up 12 iron and returned to surface with a goal. Steal the moon! If this villager's house was called the moon. Okay, look, I just need more land to work with here, and while we wait for the trees to grow, this is a great wood alternative. Planks. I only get planks. It's like eating tofu. You wanted meat, but now this is in your mouth. Day 2, I woke up with 2 men in my bed. Or women. Honestly, it's just a full face and nose here. Now, I need food for these 100 days. Unless I plan on making this video 5 minutes long, seeds are an option. So I began breaking the grass around our little chunk when I got a seed drop that this guy decided to pick up. I'm making an example of this guy. You saw nothing. Today, and probably most days' goal, will be to further explore downward. That is the one direction I can go. Is it technically south? Is south on like a horizontal or a vertical plane? Does it matter? Well, it's down. We'll call it Douth. South and down. Douth. Yep, we made a new word today. Down Douth, I was getting a decent amount of iron, and when we hit Deep Slate, I was even blessed with gold. But this thing was a lot longer down than I expected. Plus, I also expected to find some kind of diamonds on the way. I guess hitting bedrock itself is pretty cool. While on the lowest layer Douth, I wanted to attempt for a chest. One thing that I didn't explain in the intro is that each chunk we make will spawn with a chest near this Y level. This chest will have something to do with making more chunks, and the one that we happened to find in our spawn one had 7 fragments and its own chunk. This is incredibly lucky since right now we don't even have a forge. But yet we can already expand our base. But even cooler is that this is a chunk that summons the same world. Some chunks are unstable, meaning it's random what you get, but this one should in theory extend the village when I right click it. And look at that, boom, just doubled our profits for the day. Cows! Oh my, food! What a great day. With the addition of a new chunk, that means that I have to find a new chest. Let's just say this becomes sort of a chore later on, and by later, I mean pretty soon. I mined around at the bottom of the chunk abusing the view bombing glitch that has literally never been taken out of this game for some reason. Turns out this one was actually buried in the bedrock, and this time I was given an unstable chunk. Not really wanting to spawn in a mountain or an ocean right now, I put it away. If you haven't noticed, food is still a problem here. I'm about to starve to death, so I dug out a hole, filled it with water, and made a fishing rod. Through the rest of the night, I caught just enough fish to have full hunger. It was a rough day, but I still have more to do on the chunk, and I can't do it with the looming problem over my head. I'm pretty much still starving, so to ease that, yes, I fished the entire day. Catch after catch, cod after cod, we built up like a 20 fish cushion so that I could do some real work around the base. Day 5, we were back going south. Yes, with the new chunk, I want to see if I can find any lurking outside diamonds.
Whoa, lots of diamonds there.
Lucky me, I happened to find 6 while just swimming below. This is the benefit of ocean chunks. Basically the only positive is I can't get land from it. But one thing it does have for me are these chests. I searched around a bit on our growing snake tunnel system down here, going back and forth until I found it. This time, we got more than I expected.
Oh, so much loot.
Some fragments, some shards this time, which is one step up from the fragments, and another world chunk. This time I extended it in the back of the base a little bit, hoping for more animals or part of the village, but I guess I was wrong. But space is space. It allows me to plant more trees if I want, extend out the farm over here. But the last thing of the day was I took my diamond pickaxe down to lava level and got what I needed for my nether portal. No, I'm not showing this. So yeah, I missed the record button, but we have a portal.
No, don't you go in there.
Okay, no sus stuff was going on. I got the flint and steel and everything. Time to check out the other side. Please be land, please be land, please be land. Yeah, that's about what I expected. Okay, I hate this place. But if I happen to need death by fall damage or lava, I know exactly where to go. So food is still an issue. I don't want to spend my time fishing, and the farm really takes a while to grow. So when chopping trees, I would gather the leaves, compost them,
Can you back up?
and bone meal them for the farm. That would allow me to feed the cows and hopefully one day have the heart to kill these cute creatures. Do vegans like me yet? Did that line work? Anyway, diamonds. That chunk from yesterday clearly has some, and I wanted badly enough to plummet 13 stories down to get them. 2. I'm talking about 2. I only got 2, but once again, we have another mission. Chest mining time. The FOV glitch helps out a lot while doing this. I would have never found this otherwise. This time, it was another unstable chunk, and I pray we don't get another ocean with this, but that would sum up my luck. Spruce! Let's go! This video actually just got interesting. Finally something good. Ignoring the diamonds and cows and villagers and everything else we got previously, this is the best thing that's happened. I think building a house might actually be on the agenda sooner than I thought. I lit up the new part of our world like always, finished chopping down all of the trees on the island, and smoothed out the transition between the chunks because, like, it was uneven. But now, I can't wait for the big trees to start growing. Now, I'm realizing that I still have to journey down this chunk to find stuff. Spruce is sick, but there are some other great things that come along with it. One being my first lush cave. This gives me access to moss, a big factor later on in the video. However, it also gives us access to another chest. Harder to find than the others, but it had another unstable chunk inside, so maybe we're looking at a better wood type. I'm just kidding, there's no such thing. But still, another wood type would be nice. Let's see what we get. Water. We got water. Cool, whatever. Can't wait to get ganked by more drowns. But this food thing is starting to get to me. A lot of mobs are spawning in the snake tunnels below, so by the time I get back up, I have no food from the damage. So I smoothed out one of our new chunks to be flat and extended out the farm. Then I ate Nemo. I'm so sorry. Desperate times call for desperate measures, man. Okay, chore time. New chunk just dropped, so chest and diamond duty was a thing. It happened to be another unstable chunk, so I just popped it down while I was here, because maybe we'll get even more stuff. The next chest had diamonds next to it, an easy 9, and this time we got a bunch of shards and a regular chunk. However, I was pretty reckless on that food front thing, and may have almost died in a skeleton fight. Ooh. Okay, yeah, no, things are fine. It was scary, but with the water source to the surface, we escaped. Turns out those shards are actually enough for me to make a world core. After 8 days, we have the ability to make the forge. But first, another chunk to extend out the farm area. Okay, improvement time. This is the world forge. If I input blocks from the world in here, let's say like deep slate and dirt, it'll make fragments and then shards and then cores for me. It does only take 1 stack at a time though, so I semi-automated it with a hopper chest system. I'd say goal 1 is like halfway complete. I mean, we have the setup, just not the automation part. We're gonna need a lot of cores for that. But while that goes, I wanted to explore the next chunk when I saw something new.
Wait. Oh, is that a trial chamber?
That's right, I found a trial chamber. These not only exist here, but if we grow it out, we might actually get some cool loot from it. Back up top, the forge made a world core, which I can now craft to make a chunk, whether that is an unstable, a mushroom, a desert, or a new chunk to our world. It'll all depend on the items I have. This world is growing really fast, and it doesn't stop here. I've only scratched the surface of what I can end up making. Oh, and I spent the rest of the night fishing. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm starving like 90% of this video, so yeah. With that still somehow being an issue, I have a new plan, okay? Spruce trees. You probably don't get it, but if we cut down these trees, break the iron axe that I have apparently, okay, make a new one and start cutting them again, trade that with Fletcher's to get emeralds, and then make a farmer villager, we now have infinite bread. This is clearly not the best food source in the world, but it's better than dying. Well, it's close. Another thing I can make with this small amount of emeralds is an armor smith. I get myself some shoes and extras that I'm just gonna throw away and not give to anyone who needs it. I also got these sick new jeans. They don't come put together though. Probably just another trend or something. But then he got too expensive for me, so I'm gonna take his house. Taxes, bro. Sorry, I don't follow the rules, I just make them. With this house suddenly out of the way, I really don't know what happened there, I was able to make a larger fence for my cow friends. Friends is a loose term. They're just future food, but at the very least, I respect them. Okay, so yeah, day 10, I added in a tree chopping mod, because, like, there's no way I'm gonna be cutting down all this spruce. That's not happening, all right? And this is just so much more satisfying. Now, looking at my levels here, with our villager, I'll soon be able to enchant at level 30, or dream to. So we're diving back down in search of one thing, obsidian. Okay, maybe diamonds will distract me a little bit, but still, the goal is obsidian. After gathering the obsidian, I had to fight a war down here. I mean, this one wasn't crazy scary, but that's just because they gathered in a killing box. I won't have that luxury in about right now. Oh, creeper, okay. Zombie, all right. Oh, okay, we'll just, okay. This could be going better right now. Then I let a creeper explode, exposing me to multiple zombies and skeletons. That was interesting. Good plan. And then Phil's kid joined the fun at one point, but I'm fine. This is fine. I was okay. I really only went down to get what I would for an enchantment table, but fought a war instead. Side note, I did forget that I needed sugarcane for a book, or in fact, just a book itself, so I spent my time well, didn't I? Oh look, a rainbow. Beautiful, isn't it? It's like after that war, you know, there's a shining light thanks to these shaders. Back on the task though, I'm lighting up that tunnel system because we're not gonna have that happen again. That horde rush from yesterday was crazy. I felt like the plants in Plants vs. Zombies. However, while I'm down here, I could cave scout for some iron. I am running low. Okay, I've convinced myself. Legit, the first cave I went into was connected to the trial chamber. Maybe not the best place to be. Speaking of, it had an enderman and nearly death. So I made it out of there with my life. Barely. Sure, I'm in hardcore here, but that kind of experience is now sweet for me, all right? It's just like raising my blood pressure. Little fun, you know, here and there. I just ate my bread and returned to work. Instead of cave hunting, I repped around the world, hunting down iron, diamonds, and coal to my heart's content. This really is an interesting way of mining, but it works. By the end of the day, we had enough iron to start a side project you'll love. Mob farm time. Yes, that's right, the farm that everyone does in these videos, but I actually need it this time, okay? I need those resources. You've seen how important bone meal has already been for me this video, and it's about to attribute to finishing goal number 1. Starting off the build, I am doing this pretty far from the island. That way we won't have to look at it too much, and the caves below will not attribute to its failure. Now the bridge is a big part, keeps me safe, and has to look at least decent. This one wasn't great, but with some slabs, a couple logs, and fences, I did just that. A bridge. It works. With all the spruce that we had though, I built up 20 or so blocks, made 4 8-long tunnels for water, an 8x8 platform on top in each quadrant, and switched up by adding in the trapdoors first, even before the walls. I know, crazy, right? It's weird to like switch up stuff even on this project that's so simple. This was also going to be a 2-story mob farm if you couldn't tell, and when it was done, I did that thing on the inside that's like supposed to stop spiders from spawning. This pattern is normally only done with wool, but I'm a cheapskate and don't have any, so slabs will have to do. With the completion of the farm, I went down to check if it worked. Seeing those first few spawns really just makes it all worth it. I made a diamond sword and got to work on grinding it. We are a bit closer to the chunks than I wanted, so some spawns are being taken, but in the long run, this works great for levels and bones. I used those bones to finally lock down goal 1. That's right, I'm kind of a little bit, if you think about it, I'm not, but I'm kind of automating the chunk making process. With moss and bone meal, I'm able to turn the inside of one of these chunks into blocks that will go into the world forge and only benefit me. Plus, moss won't grow on ores or anything like that, so on the way down, I'll be collecting a bunch of helpful stuff. The further dowth we go in this chunk, the more we will have in the future. I just really like using dowth. Popping all this work product into the forge was great. I mean, surely I'll be able to expand the world now. But while that works, villagers, one thing I also want to make in bulk. So for one, we have to upgrade their trades. Not really, that's a lie, I just want diamond armor. I took some spruce and traded it with Timmy me the Fletcher. Then got to the bottom half of my armor. Now at least I'm wearing underwear and socks. Next up was the food guy. I'm gonna need them to breed if we want a pit of them that I showed in the intro. Also beds, which means I'm gonna need even more chunks. So I guess the new chore list consists of farming the mobs, trading for sticks, and mining moss. All of that progresses us, but that's pretty boring. So instead I'm gonna do it quickly so you don't see it. Look, cool new chunk. See that? Epic moment. Are we happy? I can't tell. I skipped the chores just for you guys, and I got some beds. Yay. To end out these set of days, I went back to a chunk I definitely haven't been to before and got this green block, which has nothing to do with progression and is cool looking. So yeah, exciting. Okay, so look, this day may not be my best show of intellect. I wanted to automate the production of bone meal with all of these carpets that the forge can't turn into fragments. Now to do that, I wanted to make a dispenser to feed into a composter with like a redstone clock. If you don't understand that concept, or why it's not the smartest, well, it's because it didn't work, or doesn't. Turns out, all you need is a hopper that feeds into the composter. Took me way too long to figure that out. It was bad. Let's just say that's not a Google search I ever want anyone knowing about. But back to the world. We have added a few more chunks as of recent, and I wanted to do my rightful chores upon them. Find a few ores, actually grab the redstone for once, find a couple more diamonds, and of course, locate their chests. One had an unstable chunk and a full core, while the other one had an unstable and some fragments. Technically, if the only thing I did for these 100 days was just find chests, I could easily restore this to the overworld. But I didn't do that. Instead, I took all of the chunks and fragments I had to make a total of 2 unstable chunks and 3 possible regular chunks. The unstable ones, of course, just spawned in water and an ice biome, which sucked, sure, but I guess we're getting some land back. And another regular chunk I used to extend out the trial chamber area below. That way we can get tons of loot when I go down and attempt it. Day 21, I crafted more unstable chunks in hopes of getting some new cool woods or building blocks, but lucky me, I just got water and ice again. I'm beginning to really not like these unstable ones. It kind of sucks. Of course, though, that does lead me into the massive list of chores. Ores, mobs, finding new caves, and getting low on hearts were all apparently part of today's agenda. We totaled 30 diamonds when I got home. A solid number, but I could be doing better. However, it's villager time. I want tools, and I traded all my green gems away to get it, or to get a bunch of hoes. I ran out of money and they all ended up leaving me. Anyway, what I'm saying is I couldn't level up the villagers because it was nighttime and nothing restocks. So I harvested the farm for once and lit up the island because mobs were beginning to spawn. I don't know how. I could have sworn it was all bright around here, but I was beginning to not like that we lived out in the open, and I'm still shirtless, so if a creeper did spawn, I would be very vulnerable. Not a fan of that. I'm not trying to be Jason Momoa saying, "Aw man," in that trailer. Instead, I want a house. You know, put some roots down in the world. And by adding another chunk, I think we can do just that. I evened out the layers and got to work on terraforming, where I'll be putting crib de me. That's it's cool speak for my house. The plan I had for this build was mostly a large 2-story home with many balconies and room for a garden in front. It may not seem it in my videos, but I love spruce, so we start the project there. Spruce pillars go every 3 blocks and stripped oak will go in between them, with stairs outlining the windows in every little quadrant. We're going for a more even house here. With the bottom level done, I had to gather even more oak, as I didn't think I would need more than a stack because I have terrible planning skills. You should know this by now. I still haven't even uploaded that Last of Us video from a year ago. Anyway, I got some work in on the upstairs, outlining all the rooms and balconies, but for the life of me could not come up with a roof design, so I kept it simple and didn't add one.
I haven't been recording this whole time? Oh man, I'm a bad YouTuber.
But look at the house. We've got some walls in place up top, which is nice. The balcony design and the deep slate's actually looking good. Ignore my lack of YouTube experience and let's move on to the roof that I mentioned. Oh wait, I still don't have a roof. Instead, I decided to worry about the ladder inside of my house for much longer than I needed to, and then moved outside to decorate. Each little 3x3 space will have trapdoors with a campfire in the middle to hold torches. Again, this will be a safe house. Not like that. I won't retreat here when the government finds out I don't pay taxes or anything. It just wards off the mobs. Don't mention that last part. I'm trying to keep that on the DL, as y'all say. Decor-wise, outside, I think the place is looking pretty good. I sure hope I record tomorrow. I keep forgetting. Oh, hey, look at that. I did. Wait, why am I sleeping with villagers? Never mind. Roof time. Again, simple. Just a short, deep slate outline with spruce in the middle. This will always look good. Now to the inside. The floor had to be replaced with spruce, but apparently my eye for detail was not done on the outside as I continue to add more and more stuff to the build. Is it needed? No. Do I do it anyways? Yeah. You know what else I do anyways? Play Stumble Guys. That's right, Stumble Guys is back and better than ever. This time, they're releasing their Thanksgiving update. Yes, a brand new event will be added to the game alongside this epic frickin' battle pass. Now, if you don't know what Stumble Guys is, it's a massive multiplayer knockout game, which last time I would say is correct, but this time, I actually got a win. I know, it's crazy. Who would have thought I could actually win this game? Even when playing against all of the consoles and even mobile players, I clutched up the dub. If you want to be as epic as me, download Stumble Guys with the link down below in the description and join me for this Thanksgiving event. Now, I would say I'm on a hot streak, but I immediately folded in the next game, which does hurt the ego a little bit. It's probably because I spent so much time knocked out and not actually playing the course, but then again, that's the game. So let me know who's logging in for this holiday season and checking out Stumble Guys. Now back to building my incredibly awesome house. The inside of this place was a different story. I start the day needing more spruce because chests cost a lot and I plan on having many. One side of the base is just going to be chests with no concept of organization. I did put this cool moss feature in the floor though, and the other corner is going to be for the kitchen with all the smokers, blast furnaces, and non-regular important useless furnaces. Since we don't have enchants either, I have an empty corner. I don't know what's going to be, I know it's going to be put here, but right now we don't have anything for it. Speaking of the incomplete, can you believe I made this massive storage system just to dump all of my items in like one chest? Yeah, me neither. Back to the villagers though, I stole their houses again, one or two of them. I don't really remember how many there were, but they're gone now. I really think one of these days I'll be able to practice this enough that it does help me steal the moon. Gru's tutoring lessons aside, our house is looking spectacular. I mean, I would eat this with both my mouths. What kind of joke is that? Who wrote that? I wrote that. Why'd I write that? However, we did something else epic this day, unlocking another wood type. This unstable chunk I put down finally gave me something other than water, and it built up a forest. Birch is technically something, but another thing we got are pigs. We've got cows, and now we have something else to neglect. Bacon. For some reason, they're attracted to potatoes. I wasn't even sure about this. I was gonna literally put these as low priority, but I guess they like potatoes. So they allowed me to fence them in for a lack of future use. I'll be honest here, I don't think I ever interact with them again. Then I just sat at the mob farm. I don't actually remember when I made it automatic with campfires, but it's pretty cool. Constant bones. Day 30. I wasn't AFK, you are. But we have a new goal approaching us, and that's to make a working iron farm. If you've seen any of my past videos, you know how great those always turn out. They're basically a roller coaster of emotions, and then I fail at the end. First things first though, I'm doing it out in the void with the mob farm, because like less spawning blocks. And two, it's easier to get a zombie over there. Once the platform was made, it was my job to boat villagers over to their new home. But there was a slight issue with that. Technically, I have enough villagers, just not ones I can spare at the moment, so I used some of the extra bone meal to harvest potatoes. I think the guys liked it a lot. Leave me alone! You know what, here, take the poisoned ones. I'm gonna breed you with these if it take the poisoned ones. Day 31, we were with Child. He was actually pretty good at evading me. I don't know why he would want to. We're not forcing him into any Nike factory. Anyway, eventually I pulled off a crime and took him to the platform. One more and we've got a party. Until that happens though, I traded up my final piece of gear. I don't know how, but we were 30 days in and I still wasn't rocking a chest plate. Next up were some more tools. Mine are still crafted diamond and I'm not exactly a fan of that kind of waste. But again, that requires more sticks and getting ripped off for some stone tools that nobody wants. Thanks, guy. It really does just litter my world. Speaking of litter, I caught another child. I'm playing into this act way too much. You can't blame me. How else am I supposed to explain that I took this kid from his parents and soon put him to work? Must be back in the 1930s with this kind of talk. It's okay, the parents got me back by scamming me for more emeralds. Also, look at my levels. I really should be prioritizing getting an enchantment table somehow, but I'm just not. To end out the day, I worked on expanding the disintegrating chunk. You know, the one with all the moss in it. That totally not automatic farm that'll probably just be in the middle of this chunk forever. Yeah, it's fun down here. Okay, day 32 is pretty much for chores. We cut down some spruce, traded it all away, worked on the moss farm again, traded a little bit more, got scammed quite a bit, I'll be honest, and still never sleep in my own house for some reason. Back to the iron farm. The villagers are grown and ready to produce. The thing is, if we don't want lava burning it down, we have to make it out of deep slate. Alongside that, I actually have to figure out the correct design for the villagers to be scared, but also sleep with the zombie. Not like that. Which means, yeah, I used a tutorial for once, and after 3 years on YouTube, I still fail the farm quite a bit. I don't know why. This one's the hardest one I've ever done. Oh, and funny me, I grab the zombie almost right away. Yeah, good plan. Well, you see the sky and how the sun is out? Yeah, that causes him to burn. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, I set up the bed chamber and waited for night to fall. This zombie did everything I wanted him to. He walked over, he almost hit me off the map, and then he got trapped. What an absolute OG.
What? I have thorns.
He died. I have thorns. Take two didn't go much better. I fell into the zombie thing again. He ended up dying, and the villagers woke up to suffocation, which just really meant an iron golem spawned to try and save them, but I had already thorns away the problem. Take three. I prepared my zombie this time. I led him over and actually watched him get in the boat, and then I saved him by closing the trapdoors. That time it was really close, but for some reason it worked. To finish up the farm, I made a platform for spawning, encased it with walls, placed in some water, some good old H2O, and then also got some chests for collection that, you know, had to be added because otherwise the lava would just burn the iron or something, whatever. But after all that, I think the farm's complete. I genuinely cannot believe it worked. I've never gotten this first try. Okay, well, it wasn't really first try. It was kind of third try because of the zombies, but it still never worked after like the first iron golem spawn. So milestone day, history books type beat, all right? They'll be talking about this achievement for at least the next 4 minutes and only in my comment section. That iron was then used the next day to finish the stubborn villagers that wouldn't give me tools before. I also crafted 2 more random chunks, this time with the goal of putting them in the nether. I don't know what I was expecting, maybe like a bastion, but I got lava. Yeah, I needed that. And then I got a crimson forest, which sure, probably won't kill me later, but again, could have been better. I went back to Spruce for more chore work and took ores from the side of our new world because it's been a minute since I risked my life parkouring out here for some measly gold. But seriously though, it's time to focus on villagers. They have been a decent focus recently, but they need a real home. I moved them out of the village, which kind of caused them to think that my house was up for grabs. It wasn't, so now I have to have trapdoors over here to keep them out. Another thing we have yet to do is go to the nether in a trading sense. I've been there, it sucks, alright, but we haven't traded with the piglins, and they still exist. We've just yet to use them. Mostly for books and leather. We'll see what else I can get though. I wasn't exactly prepared for the horde of them that tried to attack me, but gold deterred them long enough to put them in a box. Once I captured them, it was easy pickings until it comes up to picking up those items on the ground. Yeah, those crossbows started to hurt, man. I left with some interesting stuff, like 23 leather for one. I got 3 pearls, but no books. Not sure if 40 gold was worth the waste. I started off day 38 with the intention of unlocking more chunks, thanks to the moss farm. I still don't know how to automate this. It really isn't automated. I don't think I ever will, but it's close enough that I'm enjoying my time doing it, and it does help me out in the video. While all that was going, I wanted to gather more gold as well. My method for such a task was to go down to its most prevalent Y level and just strip mine the entire world. I'll be honest, I forgot that gold farms, even makeshift, exist. I mean, making it in this world would be tough, but probably a lot faster than this really slow method. Doing literally 3 days of this got me 35 gold. That's roughly 0.6 gold every minute. Incredible speeds here. I finished off my defeat with some stick trades, just so I could see some spruce color in my inventory. It always cheers me up. Day 41, trading. This time I thought about how scary this place was and made a good place to trade. The citizens still don't like me much, so getting the items was a challenge again, but this time we were rewarded with a book. Now for the escape. I never actually think of this part, but trust me, it's just funny to watch. Whoa. Yep, somehow I was able to pillar out of here and made it back. But isn't it fun watching me play with the deletion of this world? At home, we had enough to make 3 chunks now. I made 2 normal and 1 unstable. I spawned in some more of the village as well as a side yard for myself that didn't ruin the aesthetic of my house. But expansion-wise, we are growing quite a lot. I mean, we started from 1 chunk here, and now I own at least an acre. We also got our first chance at sugarcane. Yep. A wandering Brit showed up. So with these free leads, I'll now be able to move animals around easier. However, as you know, new chunks mean new chores, so I was diamond and chest hunting once more. It's been a minute though, so it wasn't too bad to do. Day 42, I want a diamond axe, one with some sort of decent enchantment on it, so we're making another toolsmith. The iron farm has also been doing pretty well, so I was able to trade with him and of course all of the Fletchers for some time, getting all my profits up, slowly maxing this guy until I got the trade. I wanted it specifically specifically, so I don't have to craft another axe. Did it take an entire day to level this guy up? Yeah. Am I able to chop trees again? Also, yeah. Island touch-up time. We have some interesting things still on this. Well, it is an island or just a growing world. I can't really tell. Whatever it is, these villager homes, random trees, and uneven lands could use some work. For now, though, I start off taking down the random house and trees that we won't be needing. I have zero plan on what this place will look like in the long run, so I won't be messing with the ground too much right now. What I will be messing with, finally, is the trial chamber. It has been under us for how long, and I have yet to take it on. When I got down there, room 1 was brand new to me. Very, very open, literally, but full of mobs. Grinding out these spawners got me my very first trial chamber key. Nowhere to put it yet, though. It's very empty in here. Further exploring led me to a room with very many slimes, accompanied by these slow-looking skeletons. Annoying, yeah, sure, but semi-rewarding as I found my first chest. It could have been better. The next room was where the fun began. It happened to be full of mobs, including that new breeze thing. Not a fan of it, as I'm being pushed around in this room by literally everything. Eventually, after whacking the heck out of everything in here, I got up to 6 trial keys while exploring. But the more rooms I found and more doors I opened, the more things I had to face. Plus, even though I was fighting all this stuff, I wasn't finding anything to unlock. I couldn't stick my key anywhere. That's a weird way to phrase that, but still, the chamber chests were non-existent for some reason. So I returned to the surface with what I did get from a few chests and hidden rooms. Best of all was probably more beds. I mean, yeah, it's just gonna make villager breeding much easier. Speaking of, I separate out a few of them from the pack because finally we're going to be working on the villager breeder. Well, maybe. It's step 1. We're just putting the villagers aside so that I can work on it later. I actually spent the night flattening out the chunk I spawned in next to my house so I have even more space for either tree farms, regular farms, a house, another house. I already have a house. I could put another house there. I don't know. But continuing from yesterday, we need to flatten out even more land. For some reason, a gigantic taiga biome decided to spawn here. So I spent much time evening it out and replacing it all with dirt. I currently have no plans in my head, so I'm figuring this all out as I go. Next, I went back to my house and thought it would be cool to have a farm that goes all the way around, like a little ring. Like if I ever wanted carrots or potatoes or wheat or something, I just walk outside, open a gate, and boom, everything would be there. Plus, it would be a little bit of extra protection from those smelly Squidwards I share a life with. The farm itself had a cool path going through it, and it also helped hide where the water source blocks were gonna go to hydrate all the plants, because like I used oak trap doors and it semi-matches the path blocks. And as I said before, the plants we're gonna be using in here are carrots, potatoes, and wheat, all placed in a terrible pattern so that they'll grow even quicker. Not for harvesting though, just probably to make the place look good. I don't think I ever harvest this. This add-on to the base made a really steep hill on the outside, which just meant I had to spend even more time digging in the dirt. Weirdly enough, this happens way too often. I'm just getting used to it at this point. After spending time upgrading the base for literally just aesthetics, I think it's time we do the same for the workers. Technically, I only did this because the taxpayers made me. If it was up to me, I would have stolen the money and ran. But instead, I just took their house. Yep, chunk 1, our very own spawning chunk, will now be transformed. With the villagers' houses all gone, I started on a new project. I don't exactly know what to call it. It's similar to a trading hall build, but like, it's kind of smaller. I'll just start by explaining. Obviously, we're going to be using spruce and oak in here, and then we're going to build in some like individual villager cubicles. That way they can see on the outside. There isn't going to be an inside. It's literally just cubicles. But I honestly surprised myself with this design, okay? Normally, I wouldn't pay too mind to the villagers, but by the time I got to the roof, it was looking pretty good. I'm not used to this style. It turned out really good. It was like a mix of medieval and Japanese at the same time.
Stop it. Stop it.
I even took time to put some moss around the base, as well as potted plants up top. If this were my house, well, if it were actually a house, I would not be upset. Unless I was never allowed to leave a closet's worth of space, and some guy was just making me work a 9 to 24/7 the rest of my existence. That would be pretty bad. I wouldn't like that. Day 50, time to put them in the cubicles. To make this easier on myself, I went with the minecart system. Not often do I use this, but it does make some of the villagers easier to place. It's not my fault I'm forcing them into this, okay? Again, taxpayers paid for it. It took the entire day, but except for the baby making ones sitting in the middle of nowhere, we had every single villager I had up until this point inside their cubicles. It's nice to just look back and see all of our hard work in one little square. To reward myself, I went back to harvesting wood. Alright, so remember how I made an enchantment table? A bad idea. I actually had another 2 books and could have made myself a bookshelf. That way, I could have made the lectern thing and had infinite books. So that's the goal we've set for the next couple of days. With a lectern, I'll be able to get a level 30 enchant table and not just the single one that I have now. My first idea was to go fishing. The rod was not biting books though. Literally, I was catching everything but. Instead, we are back to the gold race. Not the fastest method, relying on pigmen to give me what I want, but currently that's the only option I have. However, since we had 0 gold, I was strip mining once again forever. Plus, my luck was awful. I think after 20-30 minutes, I had like 15 gold. Bro, we are broke out here. All right, I am slumming it in these chunks. Anyway, we took what we had to the nether. Turns out everything in here hates me, and I was risking my life just going for these trades, man. After whacking a few too many creatures, I waited to get my prize. Our luck turned around as they threw a Soul Speed 3 book at me. That's literally all we needed, but I had a quick side mission, extension. This unstable chunk I brought with me had a purpose. Instead of giving us like a fortress or a bastion, I got this floating cube thing. I am not doing too hot with these nether chunks. I mean, I came in here to trade gold and everything, and I wasn't expecting much, but seriously, how have I not gotten something good in here? But when we did get back to base, we were able to grindstone the books that we had and made a lectern. Once these 2 boated villagers that I'm currently blocking off breed, we can maybe trade for some bookshelves and get some much needed enchants. Well, these 2 guys get it on. I wanted to check out the iron farm. It's been a minute since I've seen it, and oh baby, it's actually not doing too bad. This thing works and is still working somehow. That's a huge W. What's not a huge W though is the tree farm area. Even though I love this place, it looks very disconnected from everything else that we've built. That's probably due to it being a random chunk, but it still doesn't excuse the fact that I want it to look nice-ish. So for day 54, I took away the entire thing. First were the trees, they had to go bye-bye, and then the dirt, all of the dirt. I don't know why I just got rid of literally everything. Normally I would have stuck to like a couple layers and then, you know, terraformed it, but this time we were getting rid of the whole thing and then I covered it in cobblestone. I know, ew, but the plan was just to make this place a few lanes for the growing trees, so that whenever they do all grow at the same time, I'll be able to swoop them all down at once with the tree cutting mod that I have. Great plan, right? I really hope so, because this kind of made it look worse now that I'm looking back on this. But that's all future me's problem. Currently, I have a new goal. First, it was to check if the nether was a viable option for making new chunks with the forge. It's been a minute since I've thought about making more of these, but it was time. The time to mine out so much of the nether without even testing if the block worked. I don't know why we wasted so much of our pickaxe, but it was still a big waste of time, because when I tried to put it in the forge, it didn't work. Shocker, a plan of mine was a no-go. However, we did have a couple chores at the ready, so it was possible to make new chunks. This time, I wanted a specific biome, the mushroom biome. I don't know why, I think it would just kind of be fun to have on the island. For this to work, I needed, well, mushrooms. Pretty hard to get, but I know of a couple places. My first of many thoughts was to check the nether. It's possible that a brown mushroom or 2 could be in some of these chunks, but when looking around, I had no luck. Plus, there are a lot of mobs in here for the little area that it is, and I don't want to be in here. Next were the caves on the island. I'm pretty sure it's possible for them to spawn in caves, so going around at the bottom of the chunks we had now, I was not experiencing any of that so-called luck. My very last attempt, a doozy by the way, was to teleport on top of the nether. Risk the world, but maybe get mushrooms in the process. I took a ladder and pearled to the roof, TP'd in, and saw absolutely nothing up here. This is where my brainstem kicked in, telling me, hey, mushrooms only spawn up here due to biomes. There are no biomes here. There's like maybe 2 that I have currently because of the chunks, so literally nothing is gonna spawn up here. I wasted an entire day looking for this stuff for a cool gray biome, and I didn't even get it. In all that time, we did have some baby villagers be born and go through the first 18 levels of life and finally make their parents proud by getting a job. This one wanted to work as a librarian. No one's dream, but when there is a sword in your face and an axe in your uncle, you do what I say. After 5 minutes of trading, we got literally exactly what we wanted, an Unbreaking 3 book with a bookshelf trade. All was finally right with the world. My luck had come back, and now enchants are in sight and I can dupe the librarian profession. But at this point, I'm out of emerald. big spender over here. Thus, I used the trading haul I made so long ago to gather another like 3 stacks of these green meanies. That was then all turned into bookshelves, enough to make the level 30 with a bit extra to hire new workers, none of which gave me what I wanted in the day. I continued re-rolling on day 57. It took longer than last time, but we did get a mending book for 28 emeralds. That's a lot more than I wanted to be spending, but it still has a bookshelf trade. Plus, at this point, emeralds are kind of easy to get. All I had to do was go back over to the trading hall and put in so many sticks that these guys have to realize this is a scam by now. But after getting mending, it was time to move on to another epic project, a villager breeder, like the one I mentioned really long ago. Imagine this, infinite villagers all piled up into one block, suffering for eternity. Am I too hyped for this? Anyway, we're building a similar one to my cave only video, where the inside acts the same, but the outside will look way better than last time. However, the only work I got done today was laying out all of the support pillars for the design, which I'll tell you right now, little foreshadowing for you. I still made it wrong, and I think I continue to make it wrong for a couple of days. It was a really bad project. Before we got into continuing the build wrong, I wanted to upgrade the rest of my tools, making an efficiency 4 pickaxe and shovel, both with mending and unbreaking on them. Then I did some more work on the farm, mapping out where the carrots will go, the villagers, and the composters. But that's when I thankfully noticed I had already built it wrong. Yeah, that's right. Like I said, shockingly, the sizing was off. The pillars were meant to be one out so that I can detail the inside with oak wood and have little indents on the outside pillars. But once again, I missed the mark, so I had to remake it all just so that the next day I could really work on the build. Keeping up with the decoration, I mixed random oak wood and some planks all around the build. Then I finished off the box part of the build with a spruce outline. By nightfall, we had some sort of build done, so I moved the villagers inside. I really only need 4 in here, but all of them wanted in. However, like I said, we only need 4, so one died for this. That made the others sort of sort themselves out properly, and I'll deal with the librarians later. The next day, we sorted out the villagers so they would take their jobs that they were meant for. Well, technically these guys were meant for breeding, but we'll consider that a hobby. When trying to leave, this man made of iron thought it would be okay to hit me. Whoa! He never saw his family again. Murderous intent aside, I still had to make the farm. You know, decorate it, sort out how the villagers would flow, all that fun stuff. I began work on making all those 3x3 cubes on the outside look like archways. Once that was wrapped around the build, I stole some carrots from my house farm to put inside the breeder. We did sidetrack a little bit and go back to mining moss, but for not the reason you think. I actually did that so I could put it all around the build, either in the cubes around the base or under each archway of the roof. It really mixes in some good color. This did lead me to have to terraform a little bit more, since half the build was like on no support for some reason. I don't know how I keep doing this. Back on the outside though, I still had no game plan for the roof. The build was quite long, so every idea I seemed to come up with would not work. I took a break and gathered up a bunch of emeralds. Reason being is I wanted to incorporate those blocks in the build. I also had to make stuff for the rail system that would take the growing children away from their family to a factory. I mean, a playground. A playground. Yeah, that'll work. Who am I kidding? No one believes me. With all the supplies, I dug down and mapped out how the heck I glitch these villagers out of here on mine carts, and then get them to the surface, and I'll make it still look good. Let's just say I don't, and I can't. I really tried hard to make like a water elevator thing that would shoot them up to the surface. Then I thought I could just have the villagers fall onto a minecart rail, taking them where I want them to go, but collision is a thing, so that's not working. I really should have looked up a tutorial, because even when trying to do it the easy way, I messed it up. Eventually, after a super long time of hitting my head, way too long of a time, I think I have a concussion now, I got it working. I mean, a villager just came up with the waterfall, so I think it's working. Wait, did I send him up here? I think a villager just walked up here on its own and I called it good. And we're rolling with it, and I moved him and some of his friends to their new lives at the almost full villager trading hall. But with my ability to chop wood, we can always use more Fletchers here. Day 65, I kind of held out on attempting the roof on the farm, but today is the day. I really wanted to wrap it with deep slate like all of my other builds, but at the same time keep the roof lower-ish to the ground. Sure, it's a long building, but the roof doesn't have to be massive. I came up with a pattern that matches the short sides with the middle part of the long sides. It actually looks like a proper barn roof. Maybe y'all thought this would be an easy design to pull off, but for some reason geometry was giving me a hard time these days. Once the entire thing was in place, all I needed to do was decorate under each archway. That's where the emeralds I got come in, along with hopefully some moss, flowers, or lanterns. Each arch has a backplate plate of oak and like an underarch of spruce. I was super happy with how it turned out. Stepping back, it looked really good. It had emeralds, azaleas, campfires, and all the lanterns you would need to keep the mobs away. Did it take way too much time? Yeah, but we're questioning my time management skills now, okay? I'm spending 100 days on a chunk, or like 100 of these chunks. I don't know how many I make. I noticed, however, that my armor was looking a bit ugly, or gross, or like ucky, or something. It was bad. I decided to take the levels that I collected and actually enchant my stuff. Finally, after however many days it's been. My boots just got feather falling, and my pants got protection and unbreaking, while my helmet was the best one. However, it still just needed regular protection. I traded up more levels and was able to get protection boots and a helmet, which when combined basically maxed my set of gear. I say basically max, but there's still really no difference between Prot 3 and Prot 4 in my mind. So sure, it could be upgraded, but it's not gonna. With this new gear, I had a goal for the next set of days: tackle and fully explore the trial chamber. There has to be some kind of loot down there, and I'm gonna make sure I get it. And to be extra smart, I'm taking some chunks with me. That way, if part of it looks like it's cut off before I get to the loot, I can spawn the chunk in. The first room we made it into was the same as last time. Lots of breezes and skeletons spawning, shooting at me every which way just to get diced up like dinner. I did find another big room this time, one that I had not been in yet. It had a ton of spawners, but also some chests. I took on the slimes first, since their little pitter-patter always annoys me in battle. Then I looted that chest, finding some diamonds, iron armor, and axes. Not the best, but at least it's something down here. I still couldn't find any of the trial chests, and I don't know where the heck they're supposed to be. So instead, I'm just down here fighting all the trials off. While in the chamber, I made sure to check behind every door, every hallway, and every chunk that looks suspicious, even spawning in a couple more just to be awarded with 16 keys and no loot. I headed back up in defeat because it's apparent that in this version, nothing was spawning. When I did return to the surface, that chunk that I spawned in earlier was very much so not even with the ground. Thus, it just happened to disappear at the hands of my shovel. However, noting down the amount of dirt I got, I felt the need to go back and mine more moss for more chunks. To do this, however, I actually mined out an entirely new chunk to the side of it. That way we can work this one down to the same level as the other chunk and get even more moss. Day 71, I did just that. First, mining down the new chunk to the level of the previous one, and once I matched heights, I continued around the ring. I might add that since this was not the most interesting thing to do, I watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood on the side. Pretty good show. I think I was close to the ending arc when doing this part. I can't remember exactly where in the show I was, but if you want to hear the rating, I feel bad for you. I gave it a 7.6 out of 10, so feel free to debate me in the comments, but I guarantee you a lot of people will disagree with that. Anyway, we're looking at the chunks we can make, and I want to put one more good try into this trial chamber thing. Maybe I missed something. I don't know anymore, okay? It had to be that I was blind down there, and I missed the, like, chest that you can open. It's either that, or this world just literally cannot generate the real loot. Either way, I'm going back down there. Upon arrival, I fought off a little zombie machine, and when it was done, I got another key. I thought spawning in the rest of the chunk would give me the loot crate thingy, but yet again, I'm just sitting here with a key for clearly no reason. I wasted so many chunks trying to get this place to work. I could have had so many different random stuff in this world, but I really wanted to do the trial chamber in 1.21, yet here we are. I'm stuck without it. I don't know what I did wrong. I generated the world. It was my fault, okay? So we're just gonna have to cap off this journey. No matter how many corners I turned, how many hallways I walked through, how many chunks I spawned in, there was nothing for me to loot. Thus, we end the trial chamber saga here and we go back up top. When I got up there, I was able to make 2 more random chunks. Shockingly, you will not believe what I got. The first one, an ocean. The second one, haha, I hate myself. I'm starting to think the world hates me too. Yeah, that's probably it. This place just hates me. It doesn't want to give me anything fun. No loot and no cool chunks. Thus, I took my hate out on the chunks themselves by mowing them down. Reason being, I don't know. I think this area is gonna be like a tree area later, but also free dirt equals new chunk, which this time was decent. I got a very large forest biome out of the new chunk. I don't know why it's so tall. That's gonna be a chore in the future, isn't it? But hey, at least it's different. Back to trading with the villagers. I got kind of annoyed that when I go to chop trees, I either trade it all away or have to store back at my place. Solution was to add a chest over by the trading hall for extra wood and emeralds if I'm too lazy to walk back the 4 meters away to my house. Another thing I did was change the mob farm back into an XP grinder so that I could reach level 30 and enchant a new axe. With 32 levels, I went back to the base, getting my sharpness 4 axe with unbreaking and fortune. I didn't know you could get sharpness on an axe from a, okay, well, what mods am I using? Who knows? Is this normal? Yeah, I thought it was vanilla. Anyway, since I wanted efficiency, we had to repeat the process and combine 2 axes for what I will call a half-maxed axe, because it's still got like efficiency 4 and sharpness 4 when it could have had the 5 versions. Starting off the next morning though, I realized I hadn't made a decent pickaxe for mining. That's more due to the lack of fortune on it, but we fixed that by trading for levels, grinding the mob farm again, and enchanting for a pretty decent pickaxe, wasting all of our levels just to combine the thing. However, it still needed mending, which meant I had to go back to the farm again and grind up more levels so I could put it on the pick. Big process, but we have it now. During that night, I went back to cutting down some spruce trees like I always do, and remember we have 0 oak planted down. We kind of like need that if we're going to continue building around here, so I made many rows of oak trees, and since I'm impatient, we took a bunch of that bone meal that has just been grinding itself out from the farm to grow them all. I think I really just wanted to see the one shop that would break them all here in its glory, and oh yeah, that's satisfying. You may be wondering what I'll need the wood for, or why I'm currently swimming down the chunk the next day to gather some deep slate. Well, while you're watching me break reskinned cobblestone, I'll tell ya. The villager trading hall we have now, it's too humane. That baby making farm is going into overdrive, and I gotta make a daycare to drop off the newborns in. Thus, the brand new trading hall will be born with many resources we need for it. Thus, why I am down here breaking deep slate. And trust me, this one will be much worse for the citizens. One thing I had forgotten about in these last few days were all of the world cores that I just left months worth of stuff in the forge, allowing me to now get 7 more chunks. Easily the most I've ever done at one time. So sure, I know I'm just gonna get ocean, but what's the harm in planting them all down? My first one was actually a jungle, which I'm happy for. We got a new wood type, we got some greener grass, I love it. Plus it wasn't an ocean. And if you look over there, we have a new friends to add to the party. We got sheep. That means infinite beds, infinite carpet, and infinite prisoners. I also happened to spot a trial chamber below it. It did pique my curiosity a little bit, but it shouldn't have, as I once again was just fighting off stuff for keys and not actually able to open anything. Let down by trial chambers again. Back up top, I put 2 more chunks down, getting a stony mountain and of course an icy ocean. You know it was gonna happen at some point. With the rest, however, we are going to expand the nether. Wow! I put down a bunch of extra chunks here expecting just lava, but was happily surprised by some real land. And best of all, we ended up getting a warped forest. I mean, sure, it'll spawn endermen in mass, but I can't exactly reach the ender dragon in this world, so I don't really know how helpful it is. Moving away from what we can spawn in the world, let's focus on what we can take away from it. That's right, these cows live. Give me food! Nah, I'm kidding. I mean, kinda. I mean, they all died, but we are organizing stuff finally. Some of the cows had to die because, you know, there was a mass of them, and we'll move them into their own area sooner or later. But one thing we had to get to was the chests. Our base organization was terrible. I was still living out of like 3 or 4 chests of, well, whatever this is. So I spent the rest of my time just organizing, and since you guys know what a chest is, I'm just gonna skip past it. Day 81, I am starting to see a general vibe on the island now, especially in the new corner that we just made. I mean, we have 2 ocean segments that could easily be turned into a river, and we've got a jungle island on the other side, or 2B island on the other side. That means we're doing some serious terraforming to build up our end of the video base. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna prepare this place to look fantastic by the end of this video, and I've only got like 20 days to do it. Remember that very tall forest biome that, you know, it sprung up and I was okay with it, but now it has to go. And I don't just mean the trees and the dirt. Like, the entire thing, for some reason, had to be this massive, and it's gotta go. This project took a lot longer than I would have wanted. I do wish I could have gotten a beacon for this, and by the end of the first day, I only got about halfway down. I mean, it's great for making new chunks, but it just really felt like little progress. Unsurprising, on day 82, it was pretty much just the same thing of finishing up by mining most of the stone chunk and lighting up some of the newer stuff so that mobs won't be spawning there. But by day 83, it was finally time to start working on bringing this spot into the actual world. For one, the river needed outlines, so I took away a metric ton of dirt. Again, I know I've been working on this a little bit, but after I made sure that the shoreline would fit into a river design, it looked decent. I mean, we did have to continue tearing it back up and placing it down to make it look like natural generation, but I'm not really seeking perfection here, just so that it looks all right. Next came mining out the riverbed. Never do it the way I am about to, people, because it literally makes this so much harder. That's because the water will start flowing in, and I can't actually put source blocks on top. That means that I had to mine out the riverbed and then go back and place even more stuff so that I could get a naturally flowing river of source blocks. Apparently, I like wasting time. I don't know why I did that. Now, for the two builds we're making, the land has to fit. One area happened to be the old spruce farm, so it was time to cover that up and actually make it look like terrain. The cobblestone lines with dirt streaks have finally retired because I'm putting the real trading hall on this spot. After that part of the world was looking good, I moved across the river, which looks great, by the way, just don't look too closely, over to the jungle, which still has a stony cliff that needs dealing with. I dropped a nuke on this place, and by nuke I mean my pickaxe, and by pickaxe I mean his name is Steve. Steve and I worked real hard together to mine out the stone and replace the top of it with dirt, as well as working on the shoreline once again. It's not floating, you are. Construction begins. It's like Batman Begins, but way less cool. That guy had money, and I just have prisoners who did nothing wrong in society, but are locked up for all time anyway. Wow, I got sidetracked. So this place, as stated before, is the Villager Trading Hall. I had no idea how I was gonna go about this build, so we first start off with a large deep slate tile platform. Super basic, but when we add in that design on the edge, you know, the like crazy upside down and right side up stairs that leave like a little indent, and the wacky wavy inflatable arc-filling tube man railing. That doesn't make any sense, but I did add a railing, just not a WWIAFTM. With the platform done, it was time to lay in the pillars, the spikes, the tall hootenannies, whatever you want to call them. Once those thingy-maboppers were in place, I added in a large wall of oak. One layer, but you get the idea. Then I just stared at my creation. It's perfect, isn't it? Wrong. I'm still trying to figure out how to do a roof on this build. I don't know. Guess I'll just cross that bridge when I come to it. First things first was filling in that oak layer. That was a lot of wood we used. I hope nothing gets like lit on fire over here, because this place will just burn to the ground. But after it was all in place, I had to go around stripping it and then adding in some oak planks to texture the build. Finally, for the main layer, we still have to fit in some sort of window design for the outside. Normally we do flowers, but this time we went back to the evaporated chunk and mined up some more moss. Moss planters it will be. The quote-unquote boxes were looking good. I'm just random placing moss and like stairs with some lanterns to make it look okay, but it's working. Chat, I came up with a good idea. I'm kidding, no one listens to me. There's never been a chat. But you know what there has been? Cubicles. Tiny, tiny little homes for the people. We, the people, fought for no taxes, but that led to me enslaving generations in this one building. I don't know what's going on anymore. It's 1 AM and my jokes are getting worse and worse. Those stalls, though, were lit because, for one, I came up with an idea to have the trading blocks on the back so I can re-roll them there while just trading with them from the front hallway. Once that actually becomes a plan, it's gonna be sick. The next thing I had to do was run villagers into said stalls, which meant many of crafting. First up, some powered rails, then some regular rails, some torch rails, which that's not a thing. I was just continuing the rail thing. Anyway, when I got to the breeder, things were not as they seemed. I guess I messed this thing up, so I had to try and fix it after we had a little workplace accident. After a quick Google search, I got it working and shooting villagers out to their new homes. I did this 14 times to fill out the entire trading hall. Honestly, it's kind of funny. The only sun they'll ever get to see is on this short ride. Now, we've got 10 days left in this world, and I'm still somehow re-rolling trades. Okay, not really. I just have to make sure everyone is taking the job that I'm assigning. I've never had some of these villagers, or like, it's rare to have any of these, so we're starting with the mason guy. He sells some very interesting blocks that I'm not sure I can get in this world. I mean, like, I can, but it's technically a lot easier, but expensive to have this guy around. I guess he could be useful in the long run. After him, though, I gave up on caring about the others, as I still do not have a roof on this place yet. I kind of just looked up and forgot it was not there. I don't exactly know how to make it either, so I just winged it. Wunged it? I don't know. But it was clear after making the first 2 sections, I did not know what I was doing. If I just connected the 2 peaks that I made, it would just be super flat in all of the corners. Oh, you know what would have been sick is if I did like drooping corners and brought them up to those peaks that I just made. Instead, I made 2 peaks along the long side to make up for the huge gap in distance compared to the front. I ran with this idea around the whole structure just to realize the middle between the 2 peaks is still gonna be flat. When I got to that realization, I kinda gave up on attempting it and slept off the exhaustion. Up bright and early today, we need a clever idea to fix this roof, and not want one a month after recording either. I need one now. But we continue to ignore the problem, just filling out the sides that will look good with spruce. Eventually though, I had to move to the middle where I just settled on making 3 arches, 2 larger ones with this really tiny one in the middle. I mean, no one's gonna see it but me, so who really cares? Once the top part was filled in, I had to make sure that the walls actually matched the correct height so we didn't have very random windows in the arches. But after that, we call it done. Heck no am I doing more on the inside of this place when I still have other builds to focus on. So remember how we covered the good old spruce farm? Well, what do I do now when I need spruce? Because turns out I'm gonna need some for the next build, but I don't want to turn my grass into podzol. That's right, we're gonna use global warming. I mined into the glacier we had near the base and planted down my trees. Technically, I'm creating oxygen at the risk of a temperature spike. Anyway, it was 100% worth it, and watching the spruce just kind of glide along the ice was fun. After that, I noticed how broken this villager breeder is. I mean, I haven't checked on it, but in terms of goals for the video, having like 100+ villagers all crammed into one tiny hole is sort of funny. I did not think I'd have this effect on the world. Funny enough, with that spruce I gathered, we actually used it for emeralds. I'm not sure why. I mean, it helped lock in some trades at the new farm, but I thought I needed these supplies for the next build. I guess past me was not as worried about it as I am. The next couple of days, I decided to spice up the content a little bit. Remember how the nether exists? Well, neither did I. It is a mess in here, but surely netherite still exists, and it could be easier to get than normal. I started by making my way down to Y level 15 and just mining around with the chunks, you know, similar to that snake pattern that we have before, but all around the ones I spawned in. I had to outline all of these edges so I don't walk off into the lava below. From there, I just got to work on mining out the entire layer down here. I feel like this is probably the best way to do it. Normally, I would go in snake lines, but this is kind of fun. I did also bring a couple of splash potions of fire res, which I could tell you helped quite a lot. There was a lot of lava down here for some reason. Unfortunately, it was still an underwhelming trip as I only managed 4 ancient debris, the least amount of debris I've ever had. Since I'm a civil man though, I opted to upgrade my axe. Oh, well, I guess it will look good on my wall. Day 96. I start off the day by placing more chunks we had laying around. Would you believe me that not 1, not 2, but all 3 of them were just oceans? Yeah, okay, not cool, man. I'm getting over this ocean thing. Anyway, we got an island to build here, and we've got animals still living in the same cages I made for them like 80 days ago. This barn was super short and sweet. Little couple areas outside where we're gonna have the animal types, an entrance into the side of the barn where I can get all of my nothing, because I'll never put anything in here, and some detailing on the outside, just to make it look good. Seriously, a super simple thing that doesn't need much explanation. Then we had to take the animals over. The sheep made the journey nice and smooth. Well, they originated in this chunk, so it kind of makes sense. Next across the river were the cows, and let me tell you, this one was an adventure. The fact these float is a miracle in and of itself. And then somehow I got the pigs. I don't remember when I got these 3 weenies, but I guess they'll be great for bacon someday. To end it all out, I also brought over the llamas, which I had totally forgotten about that I had at this point. I mean, I don't really need to ride anything around, so I can't use the llama bogini or anything, but we put them in the barn and just let them sit here for all eternity. The next day, I was looking around our build and also the time, realizing we have like none left at all. Yet our build is still not complete, because like, I can't get over the animals. Thus, I made a short and sweet bridge out of oak, spruce, and campfires. I really love using campfires and bridges. I don't know, it's like a little path block. In real life, it does sound like an awful material to use though. Yet somehow these 2 trees and fire itself will hold up this bridge. And by the end, it looked fantastic. What a great way to go visit the animals. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that the island is still pretty bland. Is this an island? I really don't know. I'm gonna call these chunks an island. This island is still pretty bland. I mean, I know we couldn't do a boss fight in this video because literally that'd be like impossible. I don't even know how I would have done that. But what we can do is make the base look 10 times better with some terraforming and decoration. First up, the pathways. Working out how I was going to be getting to and fro and where and who, that was easy. And then adding in a fountain in the middle, showing off my wealth with a literal floor of diamonds and emeralds is definitely a bonus. I'm probably gonna need those diamonds back at some point. I am not very rich. But once those steps were all complete, I put my own touch on the paths to make them look even less nice and more eroded for a true walking path. And honestly, it was looking pretty good. Now I know how to walk around the island. Now I have the directional awareness to walk around here, but I really like the fountain. I am gonna need those diamonds back at some point. Day 100. The final day, and it was just full of touch-ups, adding in some trees along the path, making sure that the ones grown are, you know, the correct height, bone mealing all of the grass around and getting rid of the tall grass that spawns because no one likes tall grass. It literally spawns like 90% of the time and you just have to break it. I don't know why it's so weird. We also made sure to place some moss and azaleas around the place to make it look a little more lived in, that and a different green color. But in reality, by the end of the day, we were done. I know I didn't get to the netherite armor or beat the ender dragon or even make a beacon. Still, I don't think any of those are possible, but I do think I left my mark on this world with some of the builds here, the farms, and tortured residents we're leaving behind. All in all, we did do a ton in this video, and even though we didn't do the normal stuff, I still leave it happy. I get to watch a sunset fall on a grateful universe. If you guys did enjoy the video at all, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel. If it's your first time seeing me, ring that bell to be notified when I upload next. You know, like next month probably. Maybe. I'm bad at this.